During college, I got a nasty kidney infection that led to severe dehydration from vomiting, so I had to stay in the hospital with an IV for fluids and antibiotics. The area of the hospital I was in didn't have rooms for patients with actual doors, just curtains blocking the sides of our bed to provide privacy from other patients. There was an open space between the curtains in the front of the beds accessing the hallway. In the middle of my second night, I woke up needing to use the bathroom. I groggily opened my eyes to see an elderly bald man standing at the foot of my bed, near the opening in the curtains, just staring at me. I had no idea how long he had been there, watching me sleep, and if I hadn't been extremely weak, I probably would have screamed at the top of my lungs. I slowly reached for the nurse call button and I was about to push it. A nurse comes into view, takes my admirer by the shoulders, and says, "Come on, Mr. So-and-so," I can't recall actual name. "Let's get you back to bed." Needless to say, I did not use the bathroom until daytime, and I didn't sleep a wink the rest of the night. I mentioned this encounter to the morning nurse, and she told me they would look into getting me a private room. Didn't end up needing to do that as I was discharged a few hours later since I was holding down fluids. Yeah, let's not meet. A few years ago, a random guy contacted me on Instagram. The guy was nice enough and eventually he sent me his number. We started talking on the phone, but from the get-go he seemed a little off. He started getting angry if I didn't pick up the phone. Eventually I blocked him, but suddenly I'd be getting calls from a different number. It was always him. I blocked around 4 numbers before the calls stopped. Then a few months later he messaged me on Instagram from a new account. In the message, he basically stated that either I send him nude images of myself with "slut" written all over my body, or he would send my nudes to my family, work, and friends. I didn't understand what he meant by him saying he'd send my nudes because I knew he didn't have any of me. I ignored the message. An hour later, he sent me an image. He had found a girl who looked very similar to me, and honestly, it was just because I knew I never took any pictures that the woman was definitely not me. I reverse image searched the photo and found the actual woman in the pictures, but still I was scared. He could send out this woman's image and say it is me, and while I could message everyone and let them know it is me, I'm 100% sure not everyone would believe me and think I'm covering up the fact that I sent images to strangers online. My family's pretty conservative at best. I go onto this man's profile and I remember a cold sweat coming over me as I saw that the people he followed were all the people I follow. Basically everyone I know. I didn't know what to do except message the guy back with a threat to go to the police. He deleted the messages he sent me, and I deleted my Instagram account and instead began using my personal account, which is now set to private. On my account I also blocked the man's profile. I just hope he never finds me again. Creepy internet nude hunter? Let's not meet again. The creepiest thing that ever happened to me only lasted a few seconds. I was 8 years old and my brother was 6. It was summer and we were sitting alone in the back of my grandmother's car. This was because she had to quickly buy some eggs or something, so she had parked on the side of the road right in front of a small grocery store and left us inside the car. I suppose she thought we would be alright, since she was only gone for a minute, and the locked car was only a few feet away from the store door. She had only been gone for a few seconds when a tall, skinny man stopped next to the car window and bent down looking at us. My brother and I were confused because we didn't know him, so we just stared back at him. He then slowly reached his arm to the car window, which was open because it was hot and we didn't have air conditioning, while staring into my eyes. This confused me even more, and I remember thinking that maybe he was going to remove an insect or fix something inside the car since what he was doing wasn't making any sense. Instead, he very lightly laid the tip of his index finger on my thigh. I was wearing a sundress and, being a little kid, hadn't really noticed that I had hiked up my leg as I sat. He just left his finger there, unmoving, for a couple of seconds, staring into my eyes with his mouth half open. I remember he was missing teeth. It didn't really last long at all, but it felt like an eternity. Then he pulled his arm away and briskly walked off. My grandmother came back a few seconds after that. I wanted to pretend the whole incident had never happened and didn't want to mention it to her, but my brother told her. She asked us for a description, but all we could come up with was tall, skinny, dark hair, missing teeth, and unfortunately, there were too many people in the neighborhood who fit that description. I felt a little nauseous for the rest of the day and most of the next. The orange sundress I was wearing that day was my favorite, but I never wore it again, and my mother asked me whether she could give it away. I was very quick to say yes. Hi, Reddit/LetsNotMeet. I have been lurking for a while and finally have decided to share my own story. I used to walk home from school with my friends rather than actually ride the bus, as my house isn't far from the school, and it's nice to be out in the sun and just chat with your friends. Despite this, I still walk. This happened about a year ago in 8th grade. I was walking home with my 3 friends, for now known as John, Tim, and Bob. We walked on the edges of people's lawns. Some people see us and wave. It is a friendly town, but next to where we walk is a very busy street. Lots of cars go up and down. We paid them no mind, but this time, some lady pulled over into her, we assumed, driveway. She is basically blocking our path, and she gets out and says we need permission from the school to walk home. We get this a lot, and the school has no problem with it, and it's exactly what we told her. But then she looked infuriated and started raving like a madman about how we shouldn't disrespect adults. Although we didn't do anything, we just said the school was fine with it. She then said we were trespassing on her property, although we were next to the street, not in her yard. She began to tell us to get in her car because she was going to tell the school about our disruptive behavior, although all we did was walk home and quietly talk to each other. We all thought this was really sketchy and began to try to avoid the situation before she says, "What? You think you're just gonna avoid the situation? Hell no, in the car, now!" She grabs John's arm and we all get freaked the fuck out. John wriggles free and we all run. She just stares at us, and as we are running we turn back to see 3 middle-aged creeps get out of the car and stare us down. Never told anyone to this day. This just happened a few days ago and I'm extremely shaken up. Some backstory. I live on the 2nd floor of a 3-level apartment. We have a crawl space that connects all the apartments. We aren't sure why it's there, but we all have stuff in it and none of us would ever even attempt to go inside of it, so we still felt pretty safe. The other night the sun was setting, but it wasn't pitch black out or anything yet. I'm walking through my living room when I see a short woman on my fire escape looking into my windows. This is extremely bizarre considering it's still semi-light out and she had to literally get onto our fire escape somehow. We have 2 windows that the fire escape reaches and she was looking in both but didn't see me. I crawled onto the ground and my heart was racing as I watched her try to open the windows. I didn't know what the fuck to do because my phone was in the other room. After what seemed like an eternity, she finally left. I went into my room to get my phone to text my landlord and call the cops. I came back into the living room and was looking out of the window to see if I could locate her when all of a sudden I hear a weird noise coming from the ceiling. We have one of those tile ceilings made out to separate slabs of cork/wood. I look up to see one of the slabs lifted up and 2 eyes staring at me. I have no clue how she got into the crawl space so quickly, but I grabbed the nearest thing next to me, which was a broom, and started hitting her with it through the ceiling and called the cops as soon as she crawled away. They showed up and searched the place and didn't find her until a few days later when she was on someone else's fire escape. The cops said she was definitely on some hard drugs and that she was violent towards them. I'm glad she's gone, but whoever that crazy lady that came through my ceiling was, let's not meet again. Hey, Fearful Affairs here. I hope you guys liked this video and please stay tuned for the next one. Thanks for listening.